Alright. So let's continue from where we ended. Alright, so last time we were trying to bake what we had here. All these notes, we were trying to bake them from this one to a different map, which is to this map. So this is the first part of creating the skin texture using the node. So let's move on to the second part of creating the skin texture. Alright, so this one is the second part and this one is the last part. So this one was the final part which was used. So baking them actually makes cycles to calculate everything very fast, and it really helps to speed up work. So I really prefer doing it this way. Then later on I bake them. Of course you can put them inside a group, but they are still the same total number of nodes in the group, and that same nodes will be calculated when Cycles is rendering them or eevee is rendering them. So it's the same thing. Alright, so let's get started. So this was the image we baked. This was the image. Alright, sorry about that. So this was the image we did the last time, so you can check and see the AO taking effect here. Okay, great. So next is actually this time is when we start using the procedural textures, and from which is we are going to use the noise texture and color ramp to get what the results we are looking for, and everything will be baked using the object space texture coordinates. For that you get almost an even scale. It's likely to get some stretches if you use UV, but maintaining it at object helps to get the scales, the size of the noise very even. So I just thought of using that. So alright, so this is the results we had in the last video, which is part 2.1. so the first trick I did, or the first step I made, was to add this, to create this details, and I used the noise texture. So I chose 3D. I don't know why I chose 3D, but I don't know. And I think these are the default values. So then I used the color ramp to make things more tighter. So let's preview it and see. So this is it, and after color ramp this, then I mixed. So I use this as the mask to mix it. Then I had this. So later on I added another one again. So let's see the results of this. Alright, so this one are very small, and let's go for this. So interesting. So you have to be careful, like you have to understand the color values you need to use. I mean the gradient values. So you see here it's a little bit white, but you can see this is very gray. So you have to understand what you are really going for. You have to know the values, understand what the changes each value is making in your node setup, so that it will be easy for you to come back and fix that. So this is the results we are having from this guy. Then we mix it again and we get this. So this to this, so you can see the difference. You can see it on top of it. Alright, so and when making this, I didn't just do it within a short time. Like this was done first, then about 30 minutes or an hour, I noticed something was missing. Then I came back and added this one, and it was okay for me at then. Then I continued to stare at it for some period of time. Then I noticed something was missing, and I came back again. So it took me it's like 30 minutes hour then in creating these steps. But since it's a guide to you, I don't need to wait for that 30 hours or 30 minutes then. So let's move on. So actually alright, so it's just, you just have to have patience in creating everything, and you shouldn't rush. Alright, so this is what we had, and this the third noise, this the results, then color ramp. So you can see that one is very settled. It's like spots. So you see a spot here, a spot here, a spot here, a spot here. It's very settled. So we use the color ramp and use that as a mask, and then this is the result we had. So let's zoom in again, and you can see it. And you have to make sure that your textures are looking good at a long distance and still looking good on close up. So you have to make that decision, or you have to know that, so that it won't be a problem during the rendering stage. Alright, so this is the first one. Mixing, actually this is the big texture, then this is the first procedural texture, and this is the second, and this is the third. Alright, good. So the next is I added this guy here, hue saturation value, and let's see what it did. The colors were brought out using this hue saturation. Then before I talk about this, let's speak about the mask. So we have this AO here, and it wasn't something I painted, it was something which was generated and then baked. So how was this done? Very simple. So you just need to use this guy, geometry, pointiness, yeah. Then you use a color ramp to get the value, to get the so something like this there, to help you to get the results you're looking for. Alright, so now it's not really showing, but you first need to get this kind of result. To get this kind of result, you first need to switch back to this, switch this to 5. You can, and also you have to switch this to 5, but this one is not that important. But for the sake of this guide, I'm trying to show you what we are actually going to do. But the changes you need to make is this one, and make sure this one is turned on. So you have to turn this one to 5 too. Alright, okay, it's back. Alright, so this one is at the value of 5, render is 5 and preview is 5. So pointiness, that's what is going to be viewed. Let's preview it and see. So it's going to take long because of the value here. You can go ahead and skip it, but I think it's even about to show our results. So 1 2 3 4 and boom. Nope. Alright, go ahead and skip it. Alright, so we are back. Alright, so this is the pointiness, this is the results we are getting. So you can see the whites and the black, but the blacks is like they are almost gray. So to bring those colors out, that's when you start to use the color ramp. Alright, so based on what you want, so I think something like this. Nope, something like this. Alright, something like this. Okay, cool. Alright, cool. So using the color ramp, you end up getting what you are looking for. So you just need to create a new image, which is this one. This is what I created, and all the images I created, or all the textures, they are all 6K. So because I knew I'll be going close up with the rendering, so I intentionally went for 6K. So all the pictures you see are really in 6K. So you create your texture, your image based on the size you want, either 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K. You create it, then you bake the results here to this texture, and make sure you have this one selected so that it will bake on it, and make sure you have the render value to 5 so that it bakes straight to this one. Alright, so let's turn this off, or I mean 1, because 1 is actually the base shape. So 1. So now this is So now alright, so now this is baked, and let's preview and see. But you see, I didn't use the same color ramp, so it's likely we are going to get a different results. That's why there's a color ramp here. So good, this is the results we are getting. So I used the color ramp to make it even pop. Alright, so using this as mask and using the results, this results as the main texture, I added gamma to it, and the default value is 1, but I went backwards to 0.8 to make it more a little saturated. Then I mixed it using this one as mask. Then I had this changes, so you can see the changes of it. You can see what it's doing. Even to the lips, we are still adding details to the lips. So yeah, so this is what we had, and again I added gamma again, and this is what we have. So at this part, this is the last note for the second part. So I created a new texture image, which is this. What happened? Something is wrong somewhere. Alright, so we are back. So I created a new texture image, and I baked the results of this, which is showing here, onto this texture image, and you can see skin final. Then I continue from there. So this one is the final step for the shader. Alright, so we are now, so now we can just ignore these guys and focus on these guys. So this one is what we have from the whole of this. Alright, so let's preview it. So again, it wasn't that okay for me, so like I said, I do it because I thought this one was alright, but later on, I think this was after a day, I noticed I need to make some changes. So after a day, I noticed there's some tweaks I have to make, and then I added this guy here, and I multiplied it with this guy. So this the results, the changes it made. Then I multiply with this AO here to get this. So let's see the difference, this and this. So you see, it's actually giving it giving it some definitions. The AO is trying to give or show up the primary shapes using just the textures. It's preventing the textures to look just a flat texture, but rather giving it a depth to it. I don't know whether I'm making sense, but this looks very simple. It's looking very flat, but using this AO, and this was baked at this level 1. So using this level 1 and multiplying it with this, you end up getting something to show the forms of the model. So my goal here was really to show the forms of the model using the AO, because I wanted just the textures to tell the shapes of the model before I even start to add the roughness and all that stuff. So I hope you get it. So this, by the help of this guy, we're able to get multiplying with this guy, we're able to get this results. So after some I'm hoping it was hours, I noticed there was another mistake, so I did this step. So I added this guy, which is this one. So this one was something I painted myself. So the idea was, if you take a very close look at this guy, the muscles here are not showing, and the wrinkles here are not showing. Although I've already multiplied or mixed some AO textures with this texture, but they are still not showing. So the way I came, the trick I came up with was to paint it myself. So that's when I created this image texture, and then I went to the paint. I went to the texture paint layer, or what is it, workspace or whatever. So I went to this workspace. Then is it workspace, right, to paint it out. So firstly, let me show you what I'm talking about. Is come on. Should be here. Alright, so documents. Alright, there's no that much of this. Oh, come on. Alright, let's see. Alright, so it's there are some muscles here, and the wrist, and here. So this is what I'm talking about. And here there are some muscles there, and where is the other? And here, and the wrinkles here I don't know whether that's a wrinkle. It's a wrinkle, I'm very sure. I don't know. So, and this one too wasn't showing. So I just decided to pin those tabs out using the textures to make it very visible. So that's when I did this, and it's very simple. You just a draw and you choose. I chose black. First, make sure your image texture is white. Where is it? Then I chose black. Then saved it. So I really used the reference to do it. I didn't just do it from imagination. I followed the reference. So after doing this, I went back and I multiplied it with, so this is the results. Firstly, this is the results. Alright, so I multiplied it and you can see it's now popping. So I used 1.3, 0.1.3 as the factor value, because that was okay for me. So you see, so this was what I was trying to show, but I didn't want it to show that much, so I used 0.13. And then this was the final node I added for the textures. So RGB curves, at first it wasn't working, but I even thought it wasn't working, so I just thought of just trying it and see whether it's still whether they have fixed it, and hopefully it was fixed. So I added this guy, and from this result, and the main idea I added this guy was to get rid of some saturation, so you can see the difference it made. So this to this. So now you can see all the color values showing up by the help of just this curve. So like I said, you should know. So like I said, you should know. You should understand what each node is doing, so that you can go back and make certain changes or correct anything which is not showing up well. So this was the final result for the textures, and then I connected it to this one. So let's just add a diffuse shader and see the results. So you see, even just with this node diffuse BSDF, it's looking good. It's not looking that bad, and it's looking like it's already looking realistic. So every step you go through, you have to take every step very serious and understand each step. So it's looking very good just with this node. So the next part was the subsurface. I use 0.7 for that one, for this one, but for the Alita one, the one I used Alita as reference, I used 0.15, but this one 0.07 was working alright, so I just used this one. I just used this value for this one, for this character, and I used this image that we had and use the hue saturation value to get it to this color, this pinky color. It is not the best for subsurface, but it worked, and I just connected it to the surface color, subsurface color. Alright, so the next is the metallic. So this is actually how hard the skin will look, or soft. So the value was 0.05. You can actually leave it to 0, that will work fine, but I just went with this value. And the next was the specular. So for the specular and roughness, they are pretty much the same. The specular can be the invert of roughness, or roughness can be the invert of specular. So if you do remember, I was saying we are going to use the AO for roughness and specular. I didn't actually say anything about specular, but it's the inverse of specular. So here is the AO I was talking about, if you do remember this guy. So added color ramp, and then I mix it with white. The reason why I used this node was it was serving as the strength. Example is like adding glossy, let's say glossy, and let's add RGB. So I'm trying to do a little demonstration for you guys. So let's bring this one here and put this one at the value of the center. So if the value is white, you will see that the surface is very rough. You can't see any shiny details, shiny surfaces. But if it's back to black, then you can see that everything is looking very glossy. So with this knowledge over here, that's what I used for this setup here. So I'm using this as the strength for the roughness. So when I turn this up, the roughness will be like 1. When I turn this down, it will be all glossy. So that was the trick. So now the roughness is done. So I just connect it to this roughness, and I use the color invert of it as the specular. So let's see the results of this guy here, and this is the invert. Alright, so this one is the specular, this one is the roughness. So you can see I just used one bump texture for the whole thing, and it was really it was a bit confusing, but it was very good to understand the whole thing. So let me explain it to you. I'm using this is the map I'm using. This is the map I'm using, and I have another map here. Where is it? I have another map here, but you can see it's looking different. Like the color space is very different. So the difference is this one is object space bump map, and this one is tangent space bump map. Alright, so this bump node really have this slot for you. So the height here you see here is for tangent space bump map, and the normal here is for, you can use it both for tangent or object space. So I first used this normal map, which is add vector normal map. Then I choose, you see, tangent space and object space. So I knew this was an object space based on the settings I chose for the baking. The default is tangent, but later on I switch to object. Alright, so let me show you how I was able to get the bump map. So firstly, you have to make sure this one is set to 5 and make sure this one is on. Then you come back to make sure it cycles. Then you come back to the big options and you choose normal map. Where's normal map? So normal is normal. Alright, so normal, and you see the space here is object. Default is I don't know whether default should be object or tangent, but let's say it will be on tangent. Make sure you choose object, or make sure you know what you are going for. Why did I choose object is object space help the BSD node, the BSDF node to understand the model pretty well than the tangent space. So based on what I noticed, object space is really good to show the forms, the primary forms and the secondary forms of the objects, whilst the tangent is very good for small details you sculpt on your character. But at the same time, you can mix all those details into the object space texture and it will work very fine. So that's why you still see the smaller details on this map, although it's very good for secondary and primary forms, but you can still see it here. So I could have used this tangent space, but I just preferred using this. And also know when using object space, after you make any changes like a primary change or secondary change, it won't take any effect because the shader is going to accept this as, or eevee or cycles is going to accept this texture or this normal map as the base shape of the model. So any changes you make won't show up. So let me first prove that to you. So now this is the basic shape. This is the base shape of the object, and that is what I've baked here. So let me go to the sculpt mode and make some changes. So maybe I'll on this, let me add, oh come on, let me add a new, alright, no, don't like this one. Alright, I don't know why new from X is rather working than the others. Alright. What is this? Okay. Alright, this two is not working, so I don't know why it's not working, but you forget what is happening here and just see the changes which is about to happen. So let's preview this again and see. So this is what we are getting, but take note of what is about to happen. So maybe I will just draw, let me see whether it works. No, I'll just draw. No, it's not working. No, so let me go back to alright, so let's make these changes. Alright, so we've made these changes, and let's make another one here. So we've made these changes, and in actual sense, when we try to preview something here, this one should show, but see what happened. It's like nothing is there, but see, something is there but nothing is there. But let's try and preview the one with the tangent space. So this one, then, so you can see now it's showing this one. So for the object space, it's very good for primary and secondary forms to pop up, but make sure you are done with those forms before you bake it, because after you bake it and try to make changes, they are not going to show up. So I really prefer using the one with object space, and I just use the tangent to bring some certain details out when I'm not getting them. So I hope everything is clear about the object and the tangent. So in summary, object is very good for large forms and secondary forms, and you have to make sure you are done with all your forms before you bake them out. And the tangent is very good for smaller details, and you can make changes to the model and they will still move show according to the changes you've made. After baking it, I use the normal map to preview it, which is this, and I used a value of 9.50. Alright, then, but firstly I have to undo these changes because they are causing some errors. Alright, so again, let's preview it, and let me turn this one off. Let me delete it. Alright, so this is what we are getting. So finally the whole, and let's switch back to eevee. Alright, so let's preview it. Alright, so you can see it's looking very good thanks to the work or the efforts we did on the main texture. Everything is looking very good. So yeah, I guess this is the end of the tutorial. So here is the results, and it's looking very nice. So like I said, this tutorial is actually to motivate you guys to get into creating realistic shaders with eevee or cycles rather than using external renders, because it's possible with eevee only if you get time with it. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad result. I really like it. It really looks good. So take time and create really awesome looking skin. Alright, so this is the end of the tutorial. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope this video was very useful to you. I hope you were motivated, and I hope you did like. Forgive me for my bad English and the mistakes I made the spellings and the mistakes, how some words were pronounced. I'm really in a hurry to finish this video because I don't really have much time. So thankfully I was able to finish this guide of creating real estate skins. So I hope it's very helpful to you guys. Subscribe, like, share it, and hopefully I'm hoping to drop only tutorials. I'm hoping to drop tutorials which are not really made, or which are not really which are not on YouTube. So subscribe to get those new tutorials, because tutorials I'll be making are tutorials which are not made or which are not ever seen. So do subscribe, do like, do share, and hopefully we are going to meet in the next video. Alright, stay blessed, have a nice day, bye bye.